Welcome to part 2 of my trip to Peru. Sadly, our start in Cusco came out with a bit of a disappointment. We grabbed our taxi from the airport to our Airbnb, and on our way, the driver asked us if we already had plans. We let him know that we were planning to go to Machu Picchu, of course. He asked for our tickets, only to let us know that they were no longer valid. Long story short, as with many things in Peru, it wasn't clear on their site how things worked. I had purchased the tickets, and it said clearly that they needed to be paid in the kiosk at the Plaza de Armas. But that ended up not being the case, and we had to purchase our tickets all over again. Really, Peru, in my opinion, is made for you to hire a travel agency and guides to all of the places. You are almost basically forced to do so, which is kind of sad because I don't really like traveling that way. Once we got to the Airbnb after stopping at the travel agency and making different plans, the host was super nice and ended up telling us what to do, where to go around La Plaza, and even recommended great restaurants. So in the meantime, my family was having a cup of coffee. I was having a bit of a meltdown over how many things had gone wrong already on this trip. And since they had trusted me, and I had trusted someone to help me with the plan, I felt it was my responsibility for doing things right. After talking to Andres over the phone, and him, as he usually does, calming me down, we went to Uri Cancha, the temple of the sun god. Uri means gold and Cancha means temple in Quechua. It was built by the Incas between two rivers as the advantage point for war. By the 16th century, most was destroyed in a war against the Spaniards, who then converted it into a monastery of Santo Domingo. Our guide explained that the walls would have been covered in gold, and the niches you would see would have had all sorts of semi-precious stones. She also explained of well-planned their architecture was, as none of the stones had any mortar in between them and were all interconnected. After our lovely and very informational tour, and me feeling a bit more settled, we continued exploring La Plaza de Armas in Cusco. And I would have to say, this is the only town I visited in Peru that I would gladly go back to, with more time to explore even further. We did some shopping, took pictures with some of the llamas and sheep, went in search of the rock with the 12 angles, and yes, we found it, you'll see a picture, and of course, went to lunch at one of the only restaurants I would highly recommend in Peru. Not only was the food delicious, but it was truly the only one where the customer service was above par. We liked it so much, we ended up going back again. It's called Don Pancho Taberna Peruana. Just want to say thank you to the amazing Venezuelan waiter who was exceptional and made us feel welcomed and at home. The next day, we needed to be at the bus station at 5 a.m. And of course, not only did the taxi that was sent by the agency showed up in a small car which didn't fit us all, we then got to the station only to find out that we needed my credit card that I had used to buy the tickets to print out the tickets for the bus and the train ride. It was impossible. I didn't know what I did with it, but literally 3 minutes before the train departed, the young man at the counter was finally able to print them out and ran out with us to the bus. So make sure to take your credit card with you, as not even the confirmation number or my ID was apparently good enough to prove that I had been the person that had purchased the tickets. And thank God it worked out, because these tickets are $300 plus round trip per person. That plus the fact that it's another $20 for the last bus that takes you up to Machu Picchu, and that the entrance to Machu Picchu is $98. Yes, that all adds up to about $420 in order for you to go to Machu Picchu. Be aware. Our first bus ride took us to Ollantaytambo, which took a couple of hours while crossing through El Valle Sagrado. The sights of the early morning rise as they illuminated the snow-covered mountains were breathtaking. Then once at the train station, which, by the way, has a very Harry Potter vibe, we waited another 40 minutes. Then you hop on the train for another hour or so. Depending on your tickets, you might get a show, and while the dancing show happens, they guide you to the glass roof cart for an almost 360-degree view of the canyon and the Urubamba River. Once the show was over, we went back to our seats and enjoyed the slow ride to Aguascalientes. Since we had lost our tickets for lack of understanding the Peruvian system, we got to Aguascalientes at mid-morning and had to wait for entrance to tickets to Machu Picchu, which at that point weren't even a given until past 2 o'clock. Yet, we were grateful as we met this poor Chilean woman who had been waiting for 3 days to get tickets to head up to Machu Picchu. Once we were called, we were thrilled. We hopped on yet another bus that I have absolutely no footage of because half of the time my stepmom was bracing onto me in panic, and the other half I was panicked due to being scared of heights. These buses go super fast, uphill on an unpaved road with no braces that is quite narrow, to the point that if 2 buses meet, one must back up so the other can pass. And let me tell you, I think I peed my pants a little when I saw another of the bus coming up on a curve. Needless to say, this trip is not for the faint of heart. Finally, by 3 p.m., we made it to Machu Picchu, and even then, we were a little upset because the mayor, yes, the city mayor, also decided to go that day. As per typical politician, we were being hurried up so that he could get his show, which the guide clearly explained was actually illegal to do. Well, here it is, the cherry on top, truly magnificent. This, and out of all of our experience, Machu Picchu is something I wish we could all experience, and not being herded like cattle, but truly experience, because the feeling of serenity, spirituality, and calmness is so palpable and should be respected as such. The marvel in architecture and how they managed to build such massive endeavor at such altitude, especially knowing where they had to bring the rocks from, it's simply mind-blowing. Every little detail you see has symbolism, some of which is still being studied and discovered till today. Well, maybe Puno too. But that's content for the next video. Made this trip to Peru completely worthwhile and tolerable at the end.
La cadena de montañas más extensa del mundo, que pasa por Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Brasil, Perú, por lo cual tenemos bastante movimiento telúrico. No se siente por estar en la piedra, ¿no? En el batolito, pero sí el sismógrafo va marcando, ¿no? Tenemos un sismógrafo acá. Y la construcción del hombre andino también es antisísmica, entonces no se cae por sismos tampoco, ni por la lluvia, ni por la humedad. Cayeron por otros motivos que ya más adelante vamos a ver.
¿En la orquídea?
Sí, aquí una de las variedades de las orquídeas. Su nombre es huacanqui, traducido al español sería lágrima, y estamos viendo, parecen 2 lágrimas. Si nos movemos, tiene un color tornasol, pero a la cámara fotográfica solamente es rosado, ¿no?
If you like this video, please subscribe, hit like, and share. If you are lucky, you may see some of the wildlife as well. A variety of birds, including the largest flying bird, the condor, llamas, which currently there's a family of 16, and vicuñas, which are a kind of chinchilla squirrel rodent. From our first point of view, our guide explained that you can also get to Machu Picchu by doing Camino del Inca, or Capac Nang, which is a trail of about 45 kilometers through the mountain range. ¿Puntitos de colores?
Sí, ahí del arbolito.
Oh, sí, ya.
Están ingresando ahí. Esa es la puerta del sol, ¿no? Por ahí se ingresa al camino.
Okay, so over here is the end of the Camino Inca that you can take all the way from Cusco. If you're in good condition, it could take you 4 to 5 days to get up here walking and hiking. So hopefully you guys can see it on the camera. There's like a few colorful dots way over in that smaller mountain over there. Those are actually hikers coming in through the hike that the Incas used to do in order to get here. The Incas did not come up. The Incas would be coming down from the higher mountains around Machu Picchu.
Most people know the story of Hiram Bingham, a Yale professor, which was the one that discovered, quote-unquote, Machu Picchu. But in reality, a few decades before, Burns, another man, with the permission of the Peruvian government, had looted the site. Bingham himself stumbled upon the site looking for the Golden City, but kept on being sent elsewhere by the locals. When he saw it, it had been abandoned for about 5 centuries, and nature had taken over. Tree roots made the walls fall to the ground, and vegetation covered most edifications still standing. Even the last government in Peru has kept on requesting for Inca items that were looted and stolen and taken to other countries to be returned to Peru. It is believed that the Temple of the Sun was completely covered in gold, silver, and encrusted in semi-precious rocks, all which is long gone. The Incas cultivated and adored their houses with orchids as gifts to the god. They also had a temple of the god of water, and made sure to canalize water to all structures, as for them, without water there was no life.
Este es el templo del agua o Mamamucha, ¿no? Para ellos también una deidad, porque sabemos que sin agua no tenemos vida, ¿no? Para ellos le hicieron su templo y también le rendieron sus cultos.
You might have noticed that homes in general, and even homes here in Peru, all have short door openings. In fact, to tell you the truth, me at only 5'2" felt tall for the first time ever. Here in Machu Picchu, there's an exception to the rule. That's because the Inca king was transported to Cusco on the shoulders of other men. And so when he entered the plaza, the door opening had to be more than twice the height of a human being. This would take them 3 months to get him to what is now thought was more like his vacation home. His tomb or mummified body has yet to be found, but by scanning rooms, they do know that there are mummies still buried at the site. In fact, one of them, they can tell, was of the elite class, since the x-rays determine the clothing and jewelry that was used. There are lots of theories on the way of how they constructed, because the rock is either gray or black granite. But it is believed that they would create a hole in the rock, then put a log in, then drench it in water until the log would expand and would break the rock. Then they would smooth and carve out the edge with an even harder rock called hematite that contains an iron oxide. A few other wonders are that they had specific windows that would inform them and allow them to see the solstice, as well as astrological rooms with pools that would filled with water and used as a mirror so that they would reflect the stars on the planets. They had every area sectioned off for agriculture, ceramics, manufacturing, event planning, gift making, and textiles. One of the reasons why it's still standing today, it's the marvelous draining system that allowed for water to flow instead of flooding in the buildings. Note to today's builders, that should definitely be learned. Well, I hope you like this trip to this wonder of the world, and that you stay tuned for the next video in this mini-series featuring my trip to Peru. If you want to lend us a hand, we would be thrilled to see you wear our merch, and send us pictures with it on from what side of the planet you're on. Here you will see that my stepmom and I proudly wore our Buenavidaroute t-shirts on our day to Machu Picchu. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit like, and share. And if you want to watch more of our videos, click to the right.